right. I'm sure like many of you are like hear about. All right, so I'm sure many of you are aware of how like mainstream media talks about like COVID and all that, but like what they don't talk about is like how how people's lives have been like affected, and also as a result of these like jab mandates that are being forced upon people. So I'm gonna share an article right now that will help explain it all. So this is an article from the Epoch Times. It says job loss, kids denied sports, education disrupted, lawyers share impact of job mandates on clients. Appears a photo. It says frontline workers and first responders gather in front of Chateau Frontenac to protest Quebec's job mandate in Quebec City on October 15. Healthcare professionals losing their jobs, students denied access to education, and kids seeing their hockey dreams dashed. These are some of the complaints. And kids seeing their hockey dreams dashed. These are some of the complaints lawyers have dealt with in their cases challenging the jab mandates. Lisa Bildy, a lawyer based in London, Ontario, who specializes in constitutional and human rights law, says the mandates are devastating for her clients because they are left with no real choice in getting the jab, contrary to what some officials have proclaimed. It isn't a choice when it's your livelihood, when it's your future, when it's your mental health and support for your family, all those things at stake, she said. To say to those people you have a choice is just unbelievably callous. Bildy said she's currently facing a deluge of inquiries from doctors, hockey families, and university students looking for legal options amid the life altering consequences of refusing the jab. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, she said. People are desperate, they're at their wits' end. In one case, a medical student told Bildy that she's being forced to make a choice between getting the shot or be kicked out of her education program, which would leave her with a massive amount of debt and no job prospects. She has very good reasons for not wanting to have the jab that are personal but certainly understandable, and she's been told that if she's not jabbed, she's gone, Bildy said. Other university students Bildy represents have said their institutions told them they were trespassing and were banned from entering campus without jab proof, she said. Some doctors have told Bildy that they were given 48 hours by their management to either get jabbed or voluntarily suspend their privileges, Bildy added. On October 20th, the United Healthcare Workers of Ontario, which represents over 3,000 frontline healthcare workers, issued a letter to Premier Doug Ford urging him not to proceed with the suspension of the approximately 15% of unjabbed health professionals in the province, which could jeopardize the health system. It would be irresponsible and negligent to put our healthcare system at risk by mandating the jabs, thereby purging tens of thousands of Ontario's frontline healthcare workers out of the system, the letter said. Bildy is concerned that a brain drain in the medical field is about to happen, particularly of doctors, as virtually no exemptions are being granted, even though their reasons for not complying are unique, informed, and rational. These doctors will leave their hospitals, maybe even their careers, and very likely the country. There are friendly US states that pay doctors better anyway and don't require the jab in order to work, she wrote on Twitter on October 20th. And here's a picture of nurses and doctors have their morning briefing about a COVID 19 patient at the COVID 19 intensive care unit at a hospital in Surrey, BC on June 4th. That's a picture of, I guess, healthcare workers, and then it says hockey dreams dashed. Is playing out for kids who dream of competing in Major League Hockey one day, said Bildy, who was contacted by a lot of hockey families after the minor leagues mandated jabs for children as young as 12. The Ontario Minor Hockey Association announced on September 3rd that age 12 players aged 12 and older must be fully jabbed by October 31st, despite the fact that the Ford government said children 12 to 18 can enter sport and recreation facilities without having to show proof of getting the jab. These kids shouldn't have to be missing out on hockey when it isn't even mandatory for that age group to have the jabs in order to play, Bildy said. She added that while she's tried to help some families get exemptions through religious or medical grounds, it's still an uphill task. They're just getting a blanket denial from the hockey leagues, she said, adding that some families are pulling their kids out of the leagues while others are taking a break for the season. There's there's just absolutely no compassion for these kids, she said. The hockey leagues are the gatekeepers. They have complete control over whether these kids will have a future in hockey in this country. And here's a picture of the kids playing hockey. And it says mandates go beyond any rational basis. Sayed Hassan, a staff lawyer at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, says she has received numerous requests for help from university and college students after being told by their institutions to get the shot, even though their classes are held online. Even if people are studying from home, doing it virtually, there's still a requirement to be jabbed, which really doesn't have any rational basis, Hassan told the Epoch Times. She cited another example of an Ontario father of two young children who was pursuing a degree in mechanics but couldn't complete the program after the college forbade him from entering the on-campus workshop because he didn't get jabbed. That's just one person out of thousands and thousands of people who are going through similar situations. Very tragic situations, she said. Hassan also decried the lack of medical exemptions for people who experience severe side effects to the jab. I've heard from a lady who was in her mid-30s, very healthy, she said. She's a single mom of two, had her first shot, and then a couple of weeks later started having heart problems, and now she's on two heart medications. She finds it unbelievable that such people are not granted medical exemptions and are required to take a second dose even after having health reactions and health conditions because of the jab. On the business side, Hassan said the Justice Center is hearing from gym and restaurant owners who do not want to mandate the government's proof of jab regime for their clients. What's happening with these people essentially is they're putting their livelihoods, their businesses at risk, and standing up for what they think is the right thing, and that is not to discriminate against people based on their job status. Ryan O'Connor, a Toronto-based lawyer who specializes in areas such as employment and appeals, says he has heard from business owners throughout the pandemic who have decided to relocate their businesses to other jurisdictions, mainly the United States. And this is a picture of Ryan O'Connor. So it says he's a lawyer at Zayuna Law Firm. Then it says it's been very difficult to operate a business with all the public health restrictions that have been in place over the last 19 months, locally and also provincially, he said. So it stands to reason that at least some persons or who are subject to restrictions and mandates in the workplace might then decide to go to a jurisdiction that may be a little bit more open for business. O'Connor, who also advises clients on matters involving federal and provincial legislation, thinks the job mandates will eventually be imposed across industries and the public as well as the private sector. But he said the Ontario government's announcement on October 22nd that it plans to gradually lift all public health restrictions by March 2022 sounds promising. At least there's a signal from the province that these mandates may be temporary, but if they're going to be temporary, then I hope that individuals would think long and hard about terminating someone's employment, he said. Because once someone loses a job, it's a little harder to get it back. O'Connor stressed that instead of maligning individuals who seek job exemptions, they should be treated with compassion and understanding. There are various reasons why individuals cannot be or are unable to be jabbed: religious belief, a disability they experience, their medical status, their age, or because they wish to wait, he said. Instead of being treated as expendable in the workplace or that they should be denied access to an education, a little bit of understanding, care and compassion will go a long way to resolving some of these issues. All right, so that's the end of the article, and and yeah, like a lot of politicians in Canada, they talk about how Canada's like a compassionate country and all that. Yet at the same time, like when it comes to like when it comes to like right now, as this article mentioned, like there's no compassion for people who have like exemptions, and so they're being like fired from their jobs and all that. So yeah, it's very like sad to, and also yeah, just the lack of like like compassion. It's very like sad because people like politicians and and people as well in Canada like to say how Canada is like a compassionate country and all that. Yet now with COVID, it's like there's no compassion at all for people who have like medical exemptions, and so they're being discriminated against on all levels. So it's very like sad to hear things like this. So that's the end of the article. So I can close it now. So yeah, that's everything I want to talk about. So so yeah, like the like what these like job mandates are doing to people's lives, like it's like it's like destroying them because they're not able to do the things they like to do, and so unless they unless they take these like jobs that don't have like any long-term studies to it, so no there's no like long-term data for like any of the jobs because they're still going through like the clinical trials, and so but yet like people are being forced to like take this, and they're told that they'll be fired from their jobs, or they won't be able to enter any place certain places if they don't get the job. So it's just like sad to hear things like this. And even like the kids, they're not allowed to like participate in sports or anything like recreational unless they get jobs as well. So like even the kids aren't able to do things that they like with these job mandates. So yeah, just it's just a lack of like compassion. It's very like sad because a lot of people in Canada as well, especially like the politicians, always say that Canada's like a compassionate country and all that, and how it's and like how we're supposed to be like understanding and all that, but I don't see any of that here. So yeah, it's just very sad to like. So yeah, that's everything. I'll be signing off.